Okay, the big ticket item is strengthening your house. How many of you have a house that is older than 1980? Okay, you're a candidate for earthquake retrofit, going in to strengthen the house. And the reason is because we remember the big quake of, in Haiti. You see the lines indicating where the faults are there. Remember New Zealand, Christchurch, it's like a bullseye. We remember all these things, and we look at our own area, Tacoma and Seattle. It's just laced with faults that haven't moved in ages, and houses fail in an earthquake if they're not built right. And there is a particular vintage of house built between the 60s and the, say, early 80s that is really weak. We had a housing boom like you wouldn't believe in King County, Pierce County, Snohomish. And in fact, there must have been a shortage of lumber because you'll find a lot of these houses don't have sheathing underneath them. They may have cut corners any number of ways. But if you find yourself in a house you really like and you want to stay there and you realize it's weak, then there are things you can do to strengthen it. So again, we just emphasize these tectonic plates are moving around in the Pacific, South America and North America, and in Japan, we've seen what can happen to the big earthquake, and it's going to happen here too. It's Wanda Fuca plates pushing in on us, and we've got a big subduction zone event waiting out off the coast, just like Japan had, and it's been 310 years since that happened. It could happen any time. They say between 250 and 500 years is how often it moves. So we just don't know, but it's lurking there, and emergency managers are really nervous. Just as a random place, university place, which is just outside of Tacoma, you can see the USGS, that's the United States Geological Survey, shows there's a 93% chance of a major earthquake within 50 kilometers within 50 years. So that seems like gobbledygook, but 93% in 50 years is fairly high risk. If most of us aren't thinking 50 years ahead, but probably 25. And if you even took halved the percentage, you're right about 50% chance in the next 20, 25 years that this event is going to happen. It just makes sense to be prepared. So because of the Northridge earthquake in 1994, FEMA, our federal government, designed a plan to strengthen homes, and Seattle was one of the 5 areas in the United States that was selected to design and look at homes, design a program to do retrofit. The decision was to strengthen the home below the first floor because that's where 95% of the damage happens, is below the first floor, and have a program that would be as cheap as it could be for people, inexpensive enough to do the work. And usually this work costs between $5,000 and $15,000. So, it's not something you'd have on your immediate budget, but it's not a bank breaker, but it could save your home. So there's risk in all of our counties, in Pierce, King, and Snohomish, and anything built before 1985 generally is viewed at risk. The codes changed. The last big code change happened in 1975. Seattle says it took us 5 years to get this code enforced, and Bellevue says outside, in King County and in our jurisdiction, it took about 10 years to get these codes enforced. So if your home is built before 1985, it may be okay if it's in the 80s, but it may not. So the best way is to get it checked. And this just shows the components of a house that generally are weak. You have a foundation, and not every home has this pony wall situation, but those that do, generally this lower wall, sometimes you see it in a basement, sometimes in a crawl space, needs to be strengthened. You need bolts to hold the foundation, the house to the foundation, and you need to connect the flooring system to the top of the system. This is what a home with a pony wall in the basement generally looks like. Any of you have homes with short walls between the foundation and the first floor? It's something to think about. We have some more information at the booth you can come by and talk about. So here you'd see that bolts have been put in to fasten the sill plate to the foundation. There's been clips put up here for the connection there, and the plywood will be put on the walls to strengthen the walls. The Rambler type home is, we have a lot of those around where you have one story and a crawl space. And if it's built before probably 70 or 75, it may or may not be, it should be checked. 65 was the code year where they started requiring bolts. And so generally by 70, most of those houses had bolts in them, but you just have to sort of check. The one story, you put on these plates, and I have a sample plate here. It just shows it's a herky thing that there's a picture on it that shows how it fits on the house. But you use those to make a connection of the foundation to the sill plate, and then you use these framing clips to attach the floor system to the sill plate that you've anchored. The framing clips are smaller, and people say, you know, that really looks weak, but you use a lot of them and a lot of nails, so it gives strength. So the plan calls for, you know, if you have a one-story house, every 6 feet you'd have one of these herky plates, and every 32 inches one of those clips. At 2 stories, you start increasing the amount of hardware that you're putting down there. What you're trying to do is restrain the house. Believe it or not, the older houses were just built and set on the foundation without any restraint, and you just are counting on the coefficient of friction to hold the house in place. So you get major shaking. Now this is not like Nisqually, where it's just kind of gentle. You can rock yourself to sleep in the shaking, but it's a violent kind of shaking that would break a house loose. And that's what you're trying to guard against, just a house moving off of the foundation. And if it moves off the foundation, you can't live in it. Your jurisdiction will come around and say, ha, that's off the foundation, you can't live there. We'll put a red tag on it, and I guess they'll take you to prison and you'd have a place to live if you tried to live in it. But anyway, you have to find someplace else. And then usually you want to strengthen the bolts in the middle, or the posts, anchor them and put various caps and things on them. But those are just extra details. So earthquake retrofit can help to keep this sort of thing. This happened in Christchurch, New Zealand. Very similar area to what we have here in Seattle, and we would expect a similar result in a major earthquake. So thanks for taking time to be prepared here. Just a couple of visions of Chile. And again, this could be us. So let's review one last time. Know the mantra of drop, cover, hold. Let's all say that together. Drop, cover, hold. One more time. Drop, cover, hold. All right. And then it's your out-of-state contact, your disaster plan for the family and pets, emergency supplies, a water heater, automatic gas shutoff valve, securing your possessions, protecting windows, and then strengthening the older house. So thank you for coming, and I'm available for questions. Anything as we finish up here, or you can just come by the booth at 1333. Thanks, and live safe.